Near is better than far in Chattanooga and Hamilton County. It really is. And small is better than big. Simple is better than complex. Those are the three main arguments for local economy and the free market that I make every day here on the David Tullis Show. They're all in pencil. They're not written in ink, so they can be changed and adjusted, and we can change the font if we want. And if we care about the font, I, of course, favor the neutral Swiss-type fonts that will be Helvetica and Geneva without the serifs, the little blades on the end of the letters. I like voluntary words, not compulsory, coercive words that we find in statutes, such as the Tennessee Code annotated and the CFR, the Code of Federal Regulations, all of which are ostensibly compulsory. In the footnotes there, of course, in Helvetica font, I would argue further that personal is better than corporate and physical is better than abstract. We're brought to you by Nuganomics.com. That's Nuganomics.com, and also by YourNews.com. I'm the editor of Nuganomics. So if you want to know what's really happening in the deep state doings and how the deep state is to be defied and resisted and overcome, you'll go there. You'll find breathtaking analyses, often not widely read, of course, and that is because not very many people matter. A few people matter, and revolutions are caused by a few people. Turns in society are caused by a few people, a small minority, 5 or 6%. In the end, make things happen culturally, and also true here in Chattanooga. And the people that are going to make these changes are not the ones in office. Okay, they're not in office. They're not important. They're not college professors. They probably don't have college degrees. I would like to suggest they come in hidden areas, in neighborhoods, and in taverns, perhaps in restaurants, on ball fields. The people we're talking about are difference makers, and it's possible we have one of them in the studio now. I don't know for sure, but we'll see if we can get a suggestion of that. Her name is Tiffany Rankins, and she is a member and one of the organizers for Chattanooga Organized for Action, which was founded back in it's about 2010. You are a resident of Lincoln Park, which is it's between Erlanger, Tiffany, and UTC, that neighborhood there. And what we have in view today with your coming on, I'd like to say, is the meeting tonight with the City Council. City Council will be having its routine Tuesday 6 p.m. get together. And I guess I'll say I condemned the quietness and tranquility of the meeting last week.
I heard that.
We want to hear from you, Tiffany Rankins. There's a meeting tonight, and my listener who's never attended a city council meeting once, not even one time, even on high moral matters, he did not attend that which he's had occasions to in the past. Why should my listener give a hoot about the uproar last week over police encounters with women of color who were dragged from their cars, one June 25 and one July 7? Why does it matter that anybody show up? Because if he shows up, there'll be one other person there who is upset about this. And you, Tiffany Rankins.
Yeah, I mean, this is called being engaged into your community. And it's called involvement. You speak as far as when you go and vote, you're involved in your community, and participating in city council government is another way of course being engaged and involved. And I'm hoping that everyone, just that listener that hasn't been out in centuries or hasn't been out in weeks, or if you haven't heard the new city council since they've been in seat or in office for the last year, please come out. They're winding down here pretty soon. So therefore,
what do you mean they're winding down?
Well, as far as they've been in office 1 year. Generally, when you're in office in 2.5 years, you're kind of like lame, waiting for the next person to start going for that seat. So then they're gonna come and ask you, hey, we want you to vote for us again. So how can you say that I'm gonna vote for you and you haven't seen or been in their presence as far as how they're governed or how they legislate?
Well, let's just assume for a minute, Tiffany Rankins, that my listener has missed out on the whole uproar that we're thinking should perhaps have some claim on the meeting tonight. What happened in the two arrests? How would you narrate these two incidents, Tiffany Rankins?
Well, my narration is as far as, you have to see where they always say, watch the money. The police force is getting the biggest amount of budget. It is governed as far as a hierarchy system. Nothing has been done, but the people are the power. The only way that we can make changes in the police force if the people show up. And who's to say that your daughter or your niece or maybe your relative won't be in this same situation? So we need the people to come out and speak.
Well, David Roddy and his high chiefs, such as Eric Tucker, one of his captains, they assure the public that there's nothing really wrong has happened. That what happened with the arrest of the two women, one Diana Watt, she was the July 7 arrest. A mother, her arrest was videoed by her daughter, and then on June 25th, the arrest of a 14-year-old girl in a very remarkable interaction between an officer and a repo man who were working together, effectively outside the scope of the law, to seize a car, and then the girl was arrested. Her charges against her were thrown out Monday, a week and a day ago. So that's what happened. And so, what do you tell my listener, Tiffany Rankins? What are you upset about? These things follow procedure. These were not unusual, according to the police department, as far as we know from the latest statements. Maybe there's something I've missed, but these are just the way policing is. What are people upset about? What's wrong? Why are people upset? Maybe
this is a culture of city of Chattanooga policing. I'm glad you educated the audience. That was great education, David, as far as what their boundaries were when you repossess a car. I didn't even know that. I guess because I don't plan on driving a repossessed car. But it was good for you to educate the city council last Tuesday as far as the boundaries, as far as repossessing and how they just went against all norms. And as you were educating the city council, they may have known, but you were also educating the audience. It just seems like it was no empathy, nothing there as far as when you were speaking about this.
Well, that's kind of what I thought, and it didn't occur to me, Tiffany Rankins, that this analysis was true until after I met Marie Mott, who was one of the people who spoke last week and gave a passionate presentation that effectively said you can't. How can you accept that city employees dragged women from their car? Would you accept that a city employee would drag a woman, your mother, from her car, or your daughter from her car? Marie asked, and then she said, "You on the city council, this is your responsibility. These people may be executive branch, they may serve the mayor, but you represent us. You are our people in the city government. Your branch is equal to the other three branches, and we're not going to just say that, well, this is a bad thing, and let's just go on with our business." And so Marie Mott's, I would say, her fiery clergywoman-like exhortation, it was like a sermon. It was very, very grand and very high, and I was highly impressed at what she said. The fact that she spoke, and then there was this placid reaction from the council members. Only one council member said something, and the others, who I'm sure were affected by what Marie said, I'm sure they had something in their personal senses, wanted to say something, but somehow they felt constrained. Somehow they felt that there was a piece of tape on their mouths and they couldn't speak. I'm not sure why, and I'm very concerned that our city council members have forgotten that they represent people like you.
Correct.
You're in Anthony Bird's district.
Correct.
And they can't just sit there. They have to have something. There has to be a resolution. There has to be I want to hear some speeches. I want to hear Jerry Mitchell make a speech about police obligations, about police. I want to hear Ken Smith say something about the Constitution. I want to hear Darren Ledford say these officers are violating Title 55 by enforcing the transportation statute against Diana Black, who was not involved in transportation. They didn't even ask her for her manifest contracts or other proofs of business. They just arrested her through that title as if she was involved in business on the road, and she's a private user. So Darren Ledford should have risen to the occasion. And I'm just kind of hurt in my soul that they didn't. I mean, people I respect on the city council, Carol Burrs, an attorney.
Yeah. I'm so used to attending city council and giving that 5-minute presentation or speech or recognition from the floor. And you go up there and you speak to them about the most biggest concerns in your community, but yet there's still a stone wall. Just recently, since Councilwoman Coonrod has been elected, we do hear as far as how she feels on issues, but generally the other city councilmen are just there to hear and ready to say adjourn.
Well, and I would say that this sort of placid, calm control of that council by perhaps Robert's Rules of Orders. I'm not sure what the source is, but somehow it affected even Councilwoman Coonrod, who won office despite a difficult past. There's a wonderful video, by the way, of her conversion by God's grace, and it's you can find that video, and I urge you to watch it. It's at Nuganomics.com. It's put out by Come On, Let's Go. Demetrius found redemption and a new life, and part of that new life was public service. Though her first pregnancy was at age 13, she has had a very difficult, lost soul kind of life, and yet here she was elevated by God's grace in her life, in her dignity, in her honor, her rights restored to her, and now she's in the high office of Chattanooga City Council. I mean, that's just an amazing story. But even she was affected by this sort of deadness, because and it was in her speech. It was a very desultory 5 or 6 sentences, and then she kind of petered out. And I somehow I think even she should say, look, we have got to do something. There needs to be some pump your fist in your open palm kind of sense of resolve by the city council to rein in what is, I wouldn't say it's a rogue. In a way, it is. The police department is rogue. Tiffany Rankins in some respects, especially on Title 55. But here we have this routine policing, the way these arrests take place. It's just not. There's just no respect for the people. These officers deal with people as if they were property of the city, and that's the mayor cannot allow any officer to think that way or use abusive language. And I've heard from Avery Gray, the mother of the teenage girl, that a separate video shows or indicates that the officer is using an obscenity, but that's not in the police video. I don't know why that wasn't.
So did they cut the camera off?
Well, I don't know. Avery Gray says that there's been some editing. We know there's been some editing on that video because the daughter's face is blocked out. But we've had other cases where obscenities and profanities are used by city employees. How can that possibly be that Mayor Burke would allow that he doesn't say if any officer uses any obscenity, even the word damn, on the job, then that's a firing offense? That's what has to happen, because the word damn is an attribute of God, and that is that it's wrong to use any attribute of God carelessly. I mean, damn is a real thing, and only God can damn. So one can't say God damn without making a theological statement. It's a theological statement that God does do that to some people, and to some countries, and to some empires, and to some practices. But we can't use that word or any other of the popular obscenities by a city employee. And that's all police department officers are. They're employees of city government that our listener, you're suggesting, should want to have brought under better government.
Yeah, I think it should be a civilian review board that's made up by the citizens of the neighborhoods and different neighborhoods. That is the only way. That has the power to fire. That has the power to punish. Until a civilian review board is put in place that can, basically it has some type of show, or basically, what's that? What I'm trying to say, David? Accountability. Make some accountability. There needs to be some kind of accountability that's held to these officers. That something like desk duty just doesn't do the job anymore.
Well, as I say, when an officer does something amiss, he gets paid vacation.
Yeah.
And I know that's not quite legally accurate. It could, because it's paid administrative or paid leave, but it really is just paid vacation, where you're not in the office. You've done such a bad thing that we're going to continue to give you your paycheck every 2 weeks by direct deposit, and you're at home, mowing your lawn and making those repairs on that back bedroom that you've been promising your teenage son. So that's the punishment, where the officer's status is held in abeyance and he's being reviewed. I'd like to know. And in fact, I sent this morning to Rob Simmons, the PIO, a question about Officer Wright. And the question is raised by Avery Gray, the mother, whose daughter was vindicated. The case thrown out at a preliminary hearing Monday, a week and a day ago, in juvenile court, and that is that Officer Wright has been employed by the car lot that employed the repo man that was the focus of that. Now, that's my question. Okay, that is just a question, and I don't know that, but I want to find out. And I've asked Rob Simmons that. But Tiffany, you, my listener, you can walk into the police department and demand to see personnel records. You don't have to have an open records request. You can just walk in, because I looked at the statute this morning that allows that to be done. So if you, Tiffany, want to know about Officer Wright, beat me to it. And go down there and say, I'd like to see Officer Wright's record. And if there are 4 or 5 Officer Wrights and you don't know the first name, we'll just look at them all and see, because the record should show that the officer has a private gig. I had Tetzel Tillery on the show once. He's a very fine police officer near retirement, and I've met him at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds. He told me at one point he had 5 gigs. Part-time gigs. The car lot was not among them, but it was Rick Davis. It may have been a liquor store. I don't remember now exactly, but he had 5 part-time arrangements that he had with private business people who want some security. Who better to have on your property than Tetzel Tillery of the police department? And so here we have this Officer Wright who has a gig, maybe that's just the question, with the lot that was involved in the repossession. And the question now is, has there been? This is already known by David Roddy. Has there been a referral to Internal Affairs on this question? In other words, Internal Affairs is in a separate building from the police department, and it sniffs out malfeasance and misfeasance and wrongs, because that department knows that if you have a bad cop, that just ruins all cops. And one bad cop makes it bad for everybody else. And so that department is hated by officers. They don't want to get a call from Internal Affairs, but let there be, if there's something amiss here, let there be an inquiry.
Yeah, I mean, with a citizen review board, they will be involved in all this. I'm pretty sure it's a lot of conflict of interest with many people that feels like they hold positions. Maybe an officer has a car lot that shouldn't have, and if a car is towed, it goes to his lot. So he's making double the amount as far as being a police officer, but because he is a police officer. Yeah, request of records. A lot of times there is a fee that comes along with that, David, Well, I think if you're making just a visual inspection in person, there's no copying fee. And if it's done digitally, you can have, my listener need to know about this. You can go to the city attorney's office and go to the open records portal and have an account. And if it's done digitally, if you get your document by PDF, there's no fee, there's no copying charge, right? It's digital, so you get it by email. Well, I did receive mine's PDF. They tell me as far as researching this information is a cost to that also.
Right. Well, that may be, and you're right. I was told once that I had a $12,000 expense if I was going to get Department of Safety and Homeland Insecurity documents. The research would take so many hours, like, I don't know, 5,000 hours, and the bill would have been $12,000. I said, well, that's fine. I don't really need it that badly.
Yeah. It's always a fee associated with request records. Like I say, they put in the man hours, and I'm pretty sure it could be something waived, maybe a 10-hour.
Well, Tiffany, I don't know that you're right about that, because I got all of the manual of the police department, all the controlling manual by email, and I have every file from police ethics to search and seizures to traffic to arrest documents. I have like the arrest report, which I've gone through very carefully. It's 13 pages long, and I just asked for that. And in fact, I gave a copy of it to the UTC communications department to see if there was any eager beaver there who wanted to, look at things. There apparently are not many young journalists anymore wanting to dig like I'd like to dig. Tiffany Rankins, thanks for joining me.
No, good to be here, David. I hope you have me back soon.
Yes, we've been talking with Tiffany Rankins of Chattanooga Organized for Action from Lincoln Park, where she is in the anti-bird district, and she's urging that you, my listener, attend city council meeting tonight, just as an observer. Okay? You don't have to say anything. You don't have to do anything. Just listen to see what happens, particularly regarding Mayor Andy Burke's police department and questions they're against. David Tulip.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
More details after a body was found in a dumpster in Chattanooga. The body was confirmed to belong to 60-year-old Robert Townsend. He was found in a dumpster on Laura Street behind Memorial Hospital. We're still waiting on cause of death. The race for Senate is neck and neck in Tennessee. Marsha Blackburn